Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your weekly Traversing the Transits with Teri Hunter. This is where we get the angels' advice for maneuvering through the transits that are coming on the week ahead. And today is July 2nd, and this video is going to be relevant for the transits from July 2nd through July 8th or 9th, depending upon where you are in the world. Normally, I would be doing this broadcast live, but here in the United States, it is the 4th of July weekend. And so we've decided to take the weekend off for the live, and I'm recording these instead. I have done a monthly July video for each one of the signs. There are chapters if you'd like to check that out, which is going to go into more detail about what I think is most significant this month. And I believe that is the Venus retrograde, the Chiron retrograde, as well as the nodes changing signs at the end of the month, mid to the end of the month. But this week, what we've got going on is we have the Sun and Mercury conjunct in Cancer right now. Tomorrow we will be doing or having a full moon in Capricorn. I've also done a video on that, so please check that out. But what I want to say is I believe that this week with Mercury and the Sun traveling together and making a favorable aspect to Jupiter at 9 degrees of Taurus is offering us an illumination in the way that we think, the way that we project ourselves out into the world through our communications, through our facial expressions when we speak. There's something very, it feels very, I want to use the word obvious for some reason. Maybe it's because we've got this full moon coming, illuminating the structures of our mind. And I believe that as Mercury and the Sun are moving through Cancer together, they are also trining Saturn, which is at 7 degrees of Pisces. It was at 7 degrees Pisces for most of June. And this to me is an implementation of diplomacy and harmony over situations that have been historic, that I have maybe endured throughout my lifetime. And now I'm starting to get an awareness of the idea of where my mind has been trained and imprinted and predisposed to a certain line of thought. And my awareness of that historic line of thought is giving me an opportunity to make new choices. And the choices start with what if something is not as I have perceived it to be, but it's something new and something different. We also have Mars and Venus today, the second, making a square to Uranus. This could bring some very unexpected dynamics in our relationships. This could bring arguments. I'm not going to say it can't, but it also can bring some creative genius and a willingness to want to be brave in implementing that creative genius. Venus is trining Chiron. Venus today is at 21 degrees of Leo, trining Chiron at 19 degrees of Aries. This is an opportunity for us to start to transform our own personal wounds into the gift not only that we give ourselves, but the gift that we give to others as they experience us living our greatest life. And the idea of living your greatest life is not some sort of flat surface of walking on, but enjoying the journey of the up and the down, and the willingness to seek the wisdom in any of the energies that may feel disruptive or unpleasant. Because I want to offer it this way: if there's a disruptive or unpleasant energy, there's a piece of information to extract from that experience that will then give you the manure that will make your garden grow more lush and more full and more vibrant. I think one of the big things happening this week is we have the moon after it is in its fullness on the full moon. The next day on the 4th, we have the moon transiting over Pluto as it's heading into Aquarius. And Pluto is retrograde at 29 degrees of Capricorn. I believe that this is going to illuminate a sense of wanting to put more emphasis on what is important to me, how I feel, how I find my personal pleasure. The 29th degree is the Leo degree. It's the degree of following the heart and having the courage to follow the heart. And it's the degree that also reduces down to an 11. The 29 reduces down to an 11, and the 11 is the master number of thought. So as we experience Pluto deconstructing any old, antiquated, repressing, oppressive, limiting structures that we have inadvertently continued to bring into our future experiences, we are going to have sort of this intuitive epiphany. It could start with a bit of a disruption. It could start with a bit of a challenge. Being the 4th of July in the United States is a big day for partying, for grilling, for drinking, for kind of a long day. And within this day, those of you that are here may find the day starts off on one note and ends on a different note. And so I would be very mindful of being around energies that I find already challenging. I want to be intentional about where I spend my time so that I don't inadvertently trigger emotions that erupt in a way that is lacking constructive communications. We have also this week, and it's a continuing energy, is the nodes squaring Pluto. They have, been squaring Pluto in the late degrees of the Taurus Scorpio axis and will continue to square Pluto. The nodes will square Pluto when it moves into the Libra and Aries axis. So these karmic points are really unearthing any hidden blocks, things that we have not really come to the surface of our consciousness because they've been imprinted and branded on us since we have been small humans. And so these belief systems that inadvertently have held me and tethered me to a small version of myself will come to the surface. And in doing so, again, we've got the moon going over Pluto on the 4th of July. And as the moon becomes conjunct with Pluto, there could be a sense of irritation attached to this awareness, or we may inadvertently look to others and feel like they're contributing to holding us back. And I think we get to take just a moment to reflect on the only real important thing about this experience is the awareness, because that awareness gives you a new platform to step out on as you create your future. Because the North Node has been diligently working in the sign of Taurus to root in a new sense of confidence with your skills, with the reconciliation of your personal family history, with your voice out in the world as you express yourself. The North Node has been urging you to stretch beyond what you know you're capable of into what you dream that you're capable of. So I think this is very, very powerful and very poignant, as it's going to set up experiences for us moving forward in the later chapters of our lives. And I want to offer this too, because as we experience this stationing of the nodes at that 0 degree of Taurus and Scorpio, we have been this has been a money access. Scorpio representing other people's money that we make through our clients, through our customers, through inheritances, through investments, monies we pay through our taxes. And then the Taurus is the money that we create through our skills. It's very much a building energy, Taurus, building our money. And here, as we have started to feel the ebb and the flow of our own intentions and how they influence our resources, we're going to go into the axis of the North Node being in Aries, representing the self and implementing new structures, being the hero in our own lives, being a pioneer in expressing ourselves in more and more authentic ways as the layers of repression and of insecurity and unsureness lift. And as we experience the South Node going into Libra, this is going to be where we see a balancing between our individual expression and the relationships that we have had with other people. And as those relationships come into focus, there could be a shift within those relationships as our vibrational frequency changes. And those that are speaking and using the voice, the Taurus energy, to declare that which they want to experience, may find that some of those that are still tethered to their historic experiences, their historic hurts and pains, there'll be a disconnect of some kind, a separating of those energies because they're no longer vibrationally aligned. The surrender to that will make this transition much easier as we experience this nodal structure of Aries, Libra, North Node Aries, South Node Libra until January 2025. I also think it could bring in much more healthy partnerships in our experience. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go start with the sign of Cancer. We always start with the birthday month, and I'm going to do a one tarot card and then an angel spread to get the advice from our heavenly team on how to best traverse these transits. So let's just jump right in with our Cancers. The tarot card for Cancer is the Nine of Swords. Whoops, the Nine of Swords. This is a card of worry. It's a card where if we look carefully at the card, we can see that there are people warring underneath. Ah, boy. Okay, I'm going to have to change my background. Bear with me for a second, Cancer, while I choose my background as a nun. Welcome to my home and the kitchen. All right, let's go back to our card. Here is the Nine of Swords. This is a card, if you look by where my finger is, that's my psychological fighting, my fears, my unsureness. And this is a card of worry. And when we look at the swords themselves, they are stationed solid on that wall. And there is no actual danger or threat. So there could be, as we were talking about this, full moon in Capricorn is where there's an opposition between the moon and the sun. The sun is in your sign, Cancer, and it's right next to Mercury. So this could be what's stoking some fears as you're starting to clear out what has held you back and invite in what you want to experience more. What's the word I want to use? Repetitively, the new experiences you want to invite in over and over again that make you feel excited about life. So our first angel is Aurora, my Cancers. The second in the opportunity or obstacle is Archangel Raphael. In the angel's advice, we have Ray, and then we have Desiree in the final position. Aurora is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Serpent. Ray is being joined by the Wasp. And Desiree is being joined by the Hawk. For my Cancers, this energy of the Nine of Swords is very much, as I said, a worry energy. The guy's so freaked out that he can't even look at what he is contemplating. He can't see. And here is the Fire Fairy offering optimism, offering a positive viewpoint. And Aurora says that you're flying high right now. Don't descend. Don't go into that worry, because that worry is not going to serve you. And as you rise above that worry, as you rise above that concern, you start to allow yourself to feel a sense of support from the universe that gives you a sense of reconciliation, a sense of balancing this energy. Because the Serpent is about knowledge and healing, and the Archangel Raphael is also about healing, and it's healing through an epiphany. I believe that there is a very good potential that as the moon, your ruling planet, goes over Pluto, while this is a very quick transit, it's a very powerful transit, because it's going to bring something to the surface that you may not be aware of. And what that may be is that you're feeling a sense of frustration and anger, and that is best neutralized by connecting with spirit. And when I say connecting with spirit, this is where I start to say, thank you, Spirit, for giving me a more positive attitude about the things I'm walking through. Thank you, Spirit, for giving me an opportunity to see the divinity within this disruption. Thank you, Spirit, for giving me a sense of calm and a sense of peace as I unravel something that has held me back from my truest joys. Because Desiree is talking about conditions being unfavorable, and the hawk is talking about looking at signs and omens. And I believe what is happening for my Cancers is you're being tasked to get out of your head, which could be very much the Sun and Mercury transiting in your house right now. And rather than that, trusting a deeper intuitive knowing and a calling forth. The moon, it represents the feminine. It represents an inviting energy, a receptive energy. And if you have something you're worried about or something you have concern about, you're inadvertently focused on the problem rather than the solution. And the solution may not be laid out in your mind as what steps do I need to take. It's going to be back to going into my attitude. Am I optimistic? Am I feeling positive? Am I feeling a sense of passion? And as I do that, I'm having an opportunity to realize that everything has an ebb and a flow. And if I'm frustrated about something not manifesting into my personal experience quick enough, is that energy serving that manifestation, or is it holding it back? Because I think that there's a part of this that also may be that Spirit's got something a little bit greater happening for you than you can imagine. And your frustration with what you think you want not coming in right away is actually going to give you an opportunity to look back at some point and say, wow, this is better than I could have imagined it to be. And I've been seeing signs and omens that something is happening, even though it hasn't completely lined up within my personal experience. So you're going to start to be more intuitive. You're going to trust your intuitiveness instead of fearing it. Okay, let's go on to our Leos. Leo, you have Venus in your first house until October. This is a beautiful thing for money, for expressing your creativity, for inviting in balanced partnerships. And as we go into the Venus retrograde, it's going to give an opportunity for review. So here for my Leos, we have the High Priestess. This is a major arcana card. This is very much plays the idea of my intuitive body. We are in the sign of Cancer. Cancer rules the moon. If we look at this card, we see the crescent moon that is literally part of her garb. It also looks like she has a full moon on top of her head, and she is abundant with all the pomegranates around her as she connects with Spirit wholeheartedly and begins to trust those intuitive knowings. Now, Leo is a fixed sign. It's a fixed fire sign. So it's used to taking action. And while that's important, I think paying attention to your emotional body before you take action is going to be important for the manifestation that you're looking for, the results you're looking for. We have, for our Leos, Daniel, the angel of marriage. We have Mystique in the opportunity of the obstacle, Chantal, another angel of romance. And then we have Archangel Uriel. Venus retrograde could very much bring back old issues in way of value in partnerships. And I think when I'm talking about or looking at the High Priestess, I'm very much feeling that I'm being nudged as a Leo to connect with my team, with my inner knowing, with a part of me that actually checks my ego and goes into a deeper awareness. Daniel's being joined by the mystery card. Mystique is being joined by the wind fairy. Chantal's being joined by the partnership card. And Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Grail Knight. Wow, Leo, this is a lot about love. And I want to offer it this way because you don't have to be in a relationship to have your love life and the history of your love life come up for you this week in review. Daniel is the angel of marriage, talks about assisting you in marriage. And there's the mystery card, which talks about choice. And here, Daniel, when you look at the card and you read it and it says, oh, I'm assisting you with marriage, Daniel is really assisting you with your history and relationships and how you perceive them and how you have, operated in new relationships based on the experience you had in an old relationship. And now you're coming into a point of awareness through your intuitive body that your history belongs in the past. And it's time to make that choice, because Mystique is saying to keep charging ahead, to expect miraculous solutions. And there is the wind fairy. And this is really an opportunity to notice how much you can expect there to be a resolution that is favorable, and how much time are you actually spending on the issue, because the issue would be here in the wind fairy, the constant analysis of my love life. And this is absolutely about your love life, because Chantal is offering you more romance, more fun, more sense of feeling connected in my partnerships. And there's the partnership card. But part of it is also because you are emoting differently. Your awareness is coming from a place of intuitive knowing versus what you see. The challenge with the fixed signs is they say this is how it's always been and this is how it's always going to be. And that human comment, it actually blocks spirit from bringing you a solution, because you are co-creating the block of your history going over and over and over again. There is, when we know someone, especially in a partnership for a long time, we base our future on what happened yesterday. So if you have a partner who's not a good gift giver, when it's your turn to receive a gift, do you openly think that I'm going to enjoy this gift, or are you inadvertently already teeing yourself up for a disappointment or somehow not feeling valued in the relationship as a result of what you know about that person? Because I really think Archangel Uriel is talking about frustration and anger in relation to my history. And now Spirit is saying to make a different choice, because this is the Grail Knight, which is about romance, seeking the sacred, and illusion. So for my Leos, if you have been frustrated in any of your relationships, if you are frustrated that you do not have a relationship, if you are looking at your intimate life in any way that is stressing you out, telling an old story, telling a bad old story, this is where you are inadvertently, without realizing it, contributing to that story. Every story there's two sides, right? Well, every coin, there's two sides. Every stick, there's two ends. There's the potential problem and the potential solution. And when we are unclear about the solution, how to get there, the only way that we can really start to manifest that solution is to go into how I would feel once it has been resolved. I feel a sense of ease. I feel a sense of connection. I feel a sense of being heard. I feel a sense of being valued within my relationships. It's about telling a new story. If you tell the old story repeatedly, you're going to continue to live the old story. So Spirit very much wants you to connect with the polarity of the human experience, that the dark serves the light and the light serves the dark. And within the dark, there is light. So that's where I'm going for my Leos. Let's go on to our Virgos. Rising, Sun, Moon, and Stellium. Virgo, your tarot card is the Moon. Wow, there's a lot of energy so far asking us to go into our emotional body. This particular tarot card is a bit of a feeling of confusion, feeling of being in some sort of emotional prison, feeling a lack of ease with this card. We see the wolf, we see the dog, they're howling at the moon. The dog is considered a very humans, man's best friend, and yet we fear the wolf. So there's something that's going on, two sides of the same coin. And I think that the dog represents the more easy side and the wolf represents the more frightening side. And somewhere in the middle is a pathway. But I think that pathway can only be discovered when we are willing to almost shut down the parts of us that feel imprisoned, and we start to connect with spirit and say, what am I here to learn from feeling emotionally imprisoned? Now, that imprisonment could be a sense of duty and obligation. It can also be the opposition to Saturn right now that you're experiencing. Those aren't easy. Saturn's transits aren't easy, and yet there's so much value in them and so much reward offered when we dig deeper into why we feel limited, where we feel a sense of authority over us, and we start to really discern whether that authority is valid. If it's a habit, we start to look at things from a perception of, is this working for me or isn't it? All right, Virgo, our first angel is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Indriel. The third is Isaiah. And the final is Seraphina. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Indriel is being joined by the High Priestess. Isaiah is being joined by the Truth card. And Seraphina is being joined by the Joy card. Virgo is a very it's a sign of enslavement. It's a sign of service to others. It's a sign of health and the work that we do in modern times. And oftentimes people are working for the weekend. Stress, affects our health. And what I want to offer here is, Virgo, if for some reason you have felt like you are in an emotional prison, like you have to do something, you must do something, you need to do something, you're obligated to someone or something else that is uncomfortable or unpleasant for you, now is an opportunity for you to really go through this sort of storm of your own individual truth. Archangel Gabriel is about communications, and the Lady of the Lake is about your truth and your self-respect and your courage to own your truth. And this is not really owning it in the face of other people's opinions. It's a deeper truth within yourself, because the High Priestess is that inner knowing, that intuitiveness, and Indriel is a light worker. And sometimes in the human body, we get to certain chapters, and those chapters are there's an ending required in order for more motion forward. And if there's been something emotionally that you've been holding back, that you fear, if I express this, I will create a problem, you may be inadvertently cutting yourself off from a deeper level of connection with other people as they honor whatever emotional prison you feel like you're in. Because Isaiah says it's time to give birth to new ideas and new situations, and there is the Truth card, and it's in direct relation to this High Priestess and Indriel, the light worker. So there's a part of me that feels as if Virgo was in a way of honoring their feelings, looking at those feelings and saying, is this working for me anymore? Maybe this duty that I'm driven towards, I must be dutiful to this person, I must be obligated to pay for this thing, I'm trapped in a situation where my health is inhibiting me from moving my story forward. And there's an opportunity for you to get a sense of control or a sense of influence over it by having an intention to be to put yourself first, to put yourself in a place of priority, because this ends very favorably with a happy change to the family and joy. So somewhere along the way, I think that this could potentially be an emotional, historic dynamic that Virgo has been purporting. And it may be, in your opinion, a have to, a must, a need, a should. And because of those the idea of need and should, you're tethering yourself to this, and it's eroding you in some way. This is an opportunity to shift that erosion into a place of feeling more expansion, more, again, I want to offer the idea that Saturn rewards, but that reward is hard earned because it requires a depth of reflection and authenticity with my own personal truth. And as Saturn is opposing you in the house of Pisces, it is still requiring you and all the mutable signs to make choices that force sustainable dynamics in your life. And if you've been over delivering, overworking, over nurturing others, this could be a time when that comes into more balance, and your authenticity with yourself about what you need actually brings in more joy versus disruption. All right, let's go on to our Libras, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card for Libra is the creative and impassioned Page of Wands. This is really an excited energy. It's an energy of fresh enthusiasm, of inspiration, of creativity. Let's see where we're going with this. Your ruling planet is in the sign of Leo. Yum, yum, yum. That would be your 11th house, as I recall, Libra rising. So you could find yourself feeling more passionate about the things that you're birthing over the internet. You may find a new sense of excitement for your own personal hopes and dreams. Our first angel is Desiree. The second is Rosetta. The third is Teresa. And the final is Archangel Uriel. Desiree is being joined by the communications card. Rosetta is being joined by the frog. Teresa is being joined by the partnership card. And Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Grail Knight. Okay, so we know that Libra Rising has an Aries 7th house, and we're starting to feel the energy of the nodes shifting. We also have Chiron in your 7th house. And I bring this up because the 7th house is not just about marriage. It's about professional partnerships. It's also about diplomacy. It's about harmony. It's about creating peace and cooperation. And all of those warm, fuzzy energies put people on some sort of even keel, some sort of fair platform, so that both parties, what do they call it? A win-win. Both parties are allowed to thrive. So here, the Page of Wands could be the beginning of something, the infusion of new ideas, the infusion of new inspirations. And I want to offer this because when we start this, Libra may be feeling frustrated because up until now, conditions have not been favorable for you to actually be able to. When I look at that communications card, it feels very Geminian to me. It doesn't feel like it's just about talking. It feels like it's about all the things that we do as humans in the 3rd house. You know, it's our emails, it's our interactions with our workmates, our teammates. It's very mercurial to me. So if you've been birthing an idea of some kind, or you're wanting to birth some sort of new passions, up until now, conditions may not have been favorable for you to birth that in the outside world. So now we have the frog and we have Rosetta. And I want to offer it this way because this is your inner child. And this is an ability to actually leap off of one lily pad and onto another. I want to offer this too, because there's something when I look at this that makes me feel like Libra may be feeling frustrated because there's not enough passion in your relationships or in your life, and you're wanting to experience more of that. And I kind of have to emphasize that to focus on the problem nurtures the problem. To focus on how it would feel when the solution has presented itself is a very, very powerful and potent energy moving the story forward. Because if for some reason you've been in relation with someone for quite some time, or somewhere the passions have actually subsided, there's more of this feeling of an everyday routine within your partnerships, within your relationships. This may be a little bit of a challenging time because it feels like you want things to fluff up a bit. You want to feel a little bit more of that romantic energy. And now is a time to potentially play to your inner child. and to stop worrying about your partnerships. Teresa is a card of worry, and partnership is here in the angel's advice. If your relationship has waned or it has felt a little bit stale, I wouldn't focus on the stale. I would focus on how I can take care of me so that I don't get frustrated with other people potentially not making me feel as valued as I want. There's a weird mixed energy right here for this Libra energy. I'm a Libra sun, and there's a very strange feeling of having to realign my relationships from a place that feels sort of new as my passions have shifted over time, and how I feel about myself. And there's a little feeling of having to understand that if I'm going to be in balance in relationships, I might every once in a while piss somebody off or be the villain in their story so I can be the hero in mine, because this is all about anger and frustration. And this is about bowing down to the sacredness of what you want and what is true to your heart. So if for some reason you're in a relationship and it lacks luster, you're not in a relationship and that lacks luster, you're feeling a lack of passion in your life, a lack of creativity, a lack of moving your story forward, part of it could be to take a moment and say, what's happening in my transits? Are there things that are going on that are stalling things? And if they're stalling things, could that be so that I have broader sight? Taurus is your 8th house, Libra. And this would be, where Jupiter has entered, the house of transformation of my self-confidence. And this could be this is also where the nodes are on the 8th and the 2nd house for you. So there could be very much where something is happening, bringing an awareness that you want more passion in your life, you want more creativity, you want more movement, more experiences, more things to stimulate you. And up until now, things have not been favorable. But part of that is because Libra, I think, playing to your inner child, allowing your inner child to jump off this lily pad into a new experience. And it's not that I want to leave my partnership, but I don't want to worry about how my partner is going to respond to me birthing something. Or if I don't have a partner, I don't want to focus on what I don't have. I want to start to focus in on what is important to me, what I really want. Like, okay, how can I make this more clear? If you're a Libra and you have been dating and you haven't met anybody, if you look back at all the opportunities you've had, you may say, well, one of them didn't make any money. One of them cussed too much. One of them was, I didn't enjoy the way that they interacted with me physically. I didn't like the way they kissed me or touched me. So instead of being a victim of your choice of, no, I don't want that person as a partner, now you get to be empowered by your choice. That's where I'm going. Somewhere, I think Libra gets to shift things where you're empowered by your choice, that you are not in lack because you are lacking. You might be in lack because you're making a choice to hold out for a higher level of experience or something more aligned to your truth and your emotional body that will serve your long-term happiness versus just short bits of happiness. Okay, hope that made sense. Kind of a little all over the place. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios. Your tarot card is the Two of Wands. This is where the character has established a certain amount of their material wants and desires. You can see it's clipped here to the solid cement block here. And then he's holding the world and another wand in his hand because there's more that he wants to create. There's more passions that this character has. And now it's time to walk into that chapter of starting to build my world anew. It also has a strong energy of looking forward to the future versus looking backwards to the past. Now we know you've experienced the South Node going through your first house, which would be very much an energy of being egoless to any dynamics that are erosive to imbalance, meaning if imbalance is being moved out of your experience and you're panicking because you're used to that imbalance in your life, even though you may not have enjoyed it, or it may have felt uncomfortable in some way, being used to something doesn't mean it's good for us. All right, here we go. Our first angel is Yvonne. The second is Maya. The third is Vanessa, and the final is Xana. This is for Scorpio Rising, Moon, Sun, and Stelliums. Yvonne is being joined by the restriction card. Maya is being joined by the Raven. Vanessa is being joined by the Water Fairy, and Xana is being joined by the King. This Two of Wands is a contemplation of my future and what I want to create. We know that we can see flowers that are imprinted on the cement block with the short wand. So there's something that this person sees that will bloom and grow, but it hasn't done it yet. So now, Scorpio, you get to be vulnerable to this period of time. Now, we look at this as restriction, or that's what it says, but I also sort of see it as Saturn. Saturn is asking me to take my time to move slowly and methodically into what I want to experience. Now, we have, let me think for a second, Taurus is your 8th house, Aries is your 9th house, Pisces is your 10th house for Scorpio. Is that correct? Scorpio, Sagittarius. Because I want to offer it this way. Saturn is stationing at 7 degrees, might be at 6 degrees now of Pisces. This is it's very probable that you are experiencing a stall, but the stall is not really a stall. It feels more like the universe is moving components and chess pieces around. And part of your job is to go into your deep inner knowing. You know, of all the signs, I think that Scorpio is really the most intuitive. I know we give it to Pisces because of, you know, that 12th house and all the idea of ancestral, but Scorpio can be very controlling. It can be very brooding and intense. And through all those challenging energies, it's looking at the landscape around it and it's feeling things at a deep psychological level, which is why it's so good at beating its opponent sometimes. Mars is co-ruler of Scorpio. Because I think this is about being vulnerable to a pause where the universe is moving things around because you're learning, Maya, about how to trust your intuitive body and the magic that is created by your own intentions. This is the beautiful thing about Scorpio because you're naturally razor focused, and that natural razor focus is going to draw in experiences. Whether you like them or don't like them is part of the process of the learning about where your emotional body is taking you, where you're focusing in on fear-based things versus faith-based things, because this is very much showing you that you are a very powerful co-creator. And part of it is by paying attention to how you feel. Am I basing things on faith or fear? There's also a part of you that's learning in your fixed energy that sometimes the bones have been picked clean and it's time to fly away, meaning there's no point in beating a dead horse because Xana is protecting you and the King is bringing in justice and something that is fair and something that you deserve, but you have to be willing to receive it. The one challenge about this particular card is this person is so focused on his future and what has not been created yet that he can sometimes forget about what he has created that is stable for him. So there's a little bit of an interesting energy here of having to be aware within my own habitual emotional body, like an awareness of how I process things emotionally, and then ask myself the deeper question, is this still a good measuring stick? Because it might be old and antiquated and you need a new measuring stick. All right, let's go on to our Sagittarius' rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. We have the Hierophant. This is a card that represents very much religion, large bodies like, like the Catholic Church. It rules also the sign of Taurus. You can't tell, but on the back of his throne, there are two little bull heads. There is a sense of process here, a sense of old time beliefs. Let's see where we're going. Our first angel for Sagittarius rising, moon, sun, and stelliums is Desiree. The second is Rosetta. The third is Grace and Antoinette. And the final is Archangel Raphael. Desiree is being joined by the Burden card. Rosetta is being joined by the Birth and Rebirth card. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by Merlin. And Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Joy card. I feel as if there's the potential for my Sagittarius that this represents your ideologies, your philosophies, your beliefs. And when I go into, noticing those little bullheads, there is a part of me that thinks that Sagittarius is a mutable sign, usually very open to new ideas and new things. And yet there may be a sense of history attached to a belief that you have. And that may be actually creating a burden for you because you are unraveling that belief. Your ruling planet, Jupiter, is currently transiting through Taurus. And that is your sixth house of work, of service, of enslavement, of health. So you may actually find yourself revisiting old beliefs, old thoughts, old ideologies about your work, about your health, about what your work is doing to your health, because Desiree is saying that there's been burden, there's been conditions that were not favorable that have been bringing you stress and bringing you a sense of unsettledness is the way I want to put it. And now I believe that you're being offered a whole new chapter. There's the Birth and the Rebirth card, and Rosetta is really about that inner child. If I was doing a personal reading, it might be you birthing a child, but when I'm talking to the potential of so many people, this really feels like my inner child. My inner child says to me, I believe in magic. My inner child says, I can be a princess or a prince. I can be a superhero. The world is a beautiful place, that, policemen are good, doctors are good, and everybody, kumbaya. That's what you believe as a child. And as you become an adult, those magical thoughts are eroded. And now I think there's the potential of you actually starting to re-engage those thoughts, because you now are willing to look at your own belief system and renovate it to align with what you want to experience. Because here is Grace and Antoinette offering compassion as you step into greater levels of balance, greater levels of abundance and opportunities. And part of this is because you are giving yourself permission to rebirth yourself. And as a result of it, there's a sense of feeling healed. There's a sense of feeling better within my body, within my mind, because I'm expressing much more joy. And my belief system is now been renovated in a way that aligns so that when I actually perform my sixth house energy, that Taurus energy, I'm doing something that is more creative, that feels something that is more Venusian, that feels like it's closer to my heart and to who I am now at this chapter in my life. All right, let's go on to our goats, our little goats. I did a full moon in Capricorn video. I hope y'all will check that out, as well as the July monthly. Here we go, Capricorn, the cup of love, overflowing, the dove of peace, the offering of emotional fulfillment. That ace is a very lovely card. Now, all that you've been going through, these last few degrees of your sign and having Pluto back in those last degrees is really here to help clean out the cobwebs of those closets. Here we go. Capricorn, our first angel is Chantal, the angel of romance. We have Archangel Uriel, frustration. We have Oceana, trusting your instincts. And we have Mystique, keep charging ahead. We have partnership joining Chantal. We have Archangel Uriel being joined by the focus card. Oceana is being joined by the restriction card. And Mystique is being joined by the burden card. Capricorn, you know, you're a sign that if anybody knows the road of endurance, it's you. If anybody knows the road of performing beyond my own comfort level, it's you. But now I feel like this is the change. This is where you go from the old goat to the greatest of all time. You go to the baby goat. This opportunity for Chantal and the partnership comes as a result of your renewed sense of life and love and things that you want. This idea that you have been aware of where the rules have gotten in your way or where your obligations have inadvertently limited you because you were somehow saying, well, I need to take care of this before I give myself the privilege to do that. Because here, I think that this is Archangel Gabriel giving you an opportunity to focus in on the things that you have found challenging or frustrating in some way. There's an interesting sense of Capricorn feeling the awareness of Saturn as your ruling planet, being aware of Saturn as it's traveling. And this awareness is offering you an opportunity to understand that first feeling of your ruling planet is a little bit tough. You know, it's asking the big questions. Are you working hard towards what you want, or are you just working hard? Are you being dutiful to yourself, or are you being of duty to others to the detriment of yourself? Because up until now, I think you've emotionally restricted yourself, which has created more frustration for you as you continue to stand in that obligated energy. But now I feel like when you lighten up a little bit, when you focus in on the idea that love is coming to you, you don't have to seek it out. And also, I want to offer this. Venus is in Leo for 4 months. If for some reason Spirit brings an old situation back for review, it doesn't mean that you have to jump into the situation or you even have to address it in any way. As it means more that you give yourself an opportunity to process, because Mystique is telling you to keep charging ahead, and then there's the burden. But the burden is that it feels as if through the transformation within your own viewpoint, Capricorn, your own permissions you give yourself to feel excited and to feel more of a kind of a Leo energy, more about your own entertainment, your own playtime, your own sense of fun and frivolity and things that feel, you know, like elective classes versus, you know, curriculum classes. Then you're going to start to feel the shift of what comes towards you in the way of partnerships. You're going to feel the more warm, fuzzy, fun parts of partnership. There's this feeling of, when I look at Chantal in the partnership card, there's a feeling of whether you're in a relationship or not, it feels more about the quality of the relationship, the fun we're having, the laughs we're having, the alignment we're experiencing, the feeling of, you know, ride or die, peanut butter and jelly, you know, milk and cookies, that kind of connection. And if for some reason that's been lacking, then I think Mystique is asking you to keep charging ahead, which may be difficult because you may also feel you're changing, you're shifting what Pluto's been unearthing within your first house. You may feel more solid in that, and people on the outside may still be experiencing that from you, and they're not quite as solid with it as you are. So the burden may be that you're feeling yourself moving down the road and they're still reacting to you as if you were over here. So that burden may be as you continue to move forward ahead, regardless of what some of the older energies in your life may think or perceive of you, etc., etc. So I think that there's some sort of love in the air for you, though. So keep your heart open and your eyes shut. Okay. onto our Aquariuses, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. The 10 of Cups. This is a very joyous card. This is one of the most happy cards in all of the tarot deck. There is a sense of abundance. There's a sense of connection. There's a sense of joy and celebration. So let's see, Aquarius. Well, Leo is your 7th house. So maybe you're having some fun. Maybe you're actually making babies. Could be. You could just be trying or not trying to make babies and just practicing and having fun. Let's see. Our first angel is Rochelle. The second is Indriel. The third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Ray. Rochelle is one of my favorite angels. As you honor and follow the guidance of your heart. Venus is in the sign of your 7th house, partnership, your heart. Rochelle is being joined by the goblin. Indriel is being joined by Merlin. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Earth Fairy. I'm sorry, Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Earth Fairy. And Ray is being joined by the Death card. All right, so I want to offer it this way for my Aquariuses. Rochelle talks about honoring your heart, and the Goblin talks about the wounded human ego. I think of the ego as where I'm edging God out. Before I do any reading, before I do a video, I always ask Spirit to take my ego and have my ego step aside so that Spirit may step through with clear, detailed, and accurate information. Here, I believe that Aquarius is being offered great happiness, but part of that is going to have your ego step aside so that your heart can speak more loudly to you. And you're a sign that develops technology, that does science and experiments and looks to the future. So in some ways, it's not always obvious to maybe others how your heart feels, and maybe sometimes even to you. You may not always recognize or be able to differentiate between your heart and your head. Because when I think about the human ego, it feels very up here. So now you're being offered an opportunity for balance as you have an epiphany. And that epiphany will bring in abundance. Because I think that's doubled down here with Archangel Raphael. Has my happiness in my relationships been inadvertently thwarted by lacking a sense of safety? Aquarius, Scorpio is your 10th house, and the North Node is in your 4th house. So there could be a sense of feeling, if you had challenges in your 10th house energy, if you lost clients or you lost your public image in some way, or your career changed, or even your relationship may have changed. The 10th house is a house where people see our status, whether we're single, whether we're parents, whether we're leaders in a community, wherever we are. So I say this because Archangel Raphael is giving you an opportunity to ground yourself through an epiphany. And I think maybe at some point your ego was superseding your heart. And in order to really capitalize on this 10 of Cups, you're going to have to be able to identify where your ego is tripping you up, because there's an opportunity for great transformation as you reconnect with Spirit. Quiet your mind through allowing the power of your solar plex chakra to speak of that which you want to create and to feel it within your heart. If you're on a project of some kind, I feel as if you're challenged by that project, you might want to just take a minute to step back from that project to engage in some sort of frivolous hopes and dreams energy. The 11th house naturally rules our hopes and our dreams. It's an upachaya house that rewards over time and through effort, co-ruled by Saturn. So here, I think that this is a week, and maybe part of it is as we experience the full moon on the 3rd, we'll have an illumination of some kind in our Capricorn energy that will then take that moon, and right before the moon moves into Aquarius, it's going to go over Pluto. And this is happening technically on the 4th of July here in the Pacific time zone. So there could be something that is unearthed through that emotional illumination, and then that conjunction with Pluto that then puts that moon in your first house for a day or so, illuminating what's important to you and where maybe you have been a contributor in any sort of lack of forward motion there. You might even have gotten yourself so worked up with your nervous system, being so worried and so anxious, that is coming out as the ego telling you that you're not good enough, telling you that you're not pretty enough, or you're not handsome enough, or you're not thin enough, or whatever the stories are of not enough. Because there's a transformation coming through your connection to your heart, and that heart is the voice of spirit. All right, on to our Pisces rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Four of Cups. Now, this is an interesting energy because this man is so malcontent that he can only focus on what is sitting in front of him. And here, the hand of God, the hand of spirit, is trying to offer something, but he cannot see it. So let's see where we're going, because with Saturn in your first house, especially if you're early born Pisces, you may really be feeling that energy. And now we're in the Saturn retrograde, so we're revisiting something we've already walked through. And, picking up wet blankets off the ground isn't fun. And sometimes Saturn feels like a big old wet blanket, heavy, hard to remove. All right. Our first angel is Crystal. The second is Xana. The third is Opal. And the final is Maya. One of the things, Pisces, that Saturn is doing for you, which is a great gift, is offering you sustainable endeavors. Saturn wants to kind of, really remove any sort of illusions or fogs when we're investing in something that isn't going to build a strong structure. And, whether it's a mental structure, a physical structure, a heart structure is irrelevant. So if for some reason you're feeling a sense of discontent, there could be a gift coming, because Crystal says, have faith and hope. There's something more on the horizon that you can't see. And then we have the joy card. Xana is being joined by the fear card, Opal's being joined by the truth card, and Maya's being joined by the dog, unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. If for some reason Saturn has brought some sort of historic eruption into your relationships or into your first house, you're feeling a lack of myself being seen, you're being protected right now from your fears and from escaping. If you have in the past been like, this is too hard for me, I don't want to do this anymore, Spirit is asking you to hold out for the gift that Spirit is trying to offer you. Lift your head up, look around. Is there joy somewhere that I can't see? Is this a divine disruption that is going to bring an illumination and wisdom into my experience, where I can actually feel a sense of rising, false evidence appearing real, being protected from false evidence? Pisces there can be an element of deceit or deception attached to Pisces because of all that fog. So now here we see God handing you the truth. And the truth is that you are loved, that you are cared for, that you are more than you think you are, especially if for some reason you are measuring yourself up against other human beings while they're inside this vessel and unconscious of the truth of who they are, which is an energetic being enjoying a physical experience. Because I think what you're learning, this is Maya, schooling and education, is about love. And if something has felt malcontent or the cups aren't full, if for some reason that situation tends to go by the wayside, then there's something much better coming in. And your willingness to seek out the avenue for that, the heart open for that, and to trust that you're being protected from not only your own fears, because your fears may attach you to a situation or a dynamic or to people that are actually not good or supporting you or sustainable for your future. And this is where I believe that divine disruption leads to a wonderful epiphany of wisdom. when we allow for that. So here you're learning about love. You're learning about what you deserve in love. You're learning, I hate the word learning. I'd prefer to say your soul is trying to have your physical apparatus remember how lovable you are and how much creativity you have inside of you, and how much you have to offer others when you allow yourself a little bit of distance between yourself and others while you individualize versus inadvertently are submerged by their emotional dynamic. That's the way I want to put it. All right, let's go on to our Aries rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. North Node is about to enter your first house in the house. Woohoo! That should bring some stuff up. Aries, your tarot card is the Ace of Swords. This is mastery over thought. And you know, Mars is your ruling planet. Mars rules swords and knives, scissors, surgical weapons, surgical tools. What do they call those? I don't know. But this is very interesting because as we master our thoughts, we're usually not mastering the thought, we're mastering the awareness of the thought. And then through the awareness, we have an opportunity to decipher whether we should continue that line of thought or whether we should shift. Our first angel is Grace and Antoinette. The second is Bridget. The third is Archangel Gabriel, and the final is Ariel. Grace and Antoinette is always about compassion. And here, this could be compassion for your warrior thoughts. The Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the spider. Bridget is being joined by the deer. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Lady of the Lake, and Ariel is being joined by the Forgiveness card. I believe that this is an opportunity. You know, Chiron has been going through your first house for quite some time. Chiron is the wound that transforms into the gift, but it isn't an easy transformation. There's a chronic energy to Chiron's wound. Chiron in the legend was nicked by, I believe it was Hercules in battle, and he was nicked in the thigh, and this was a wound that never really healed. And being a demigod, because Chiron's father is Saturn, he couldn't actually die. So he would live with this chronic wound. And the reason I say this is because Aries is the sign of the warrior. There is the potential that your wounds have made you angry. And now you have an opportunity to master your own energy, awareness of your anger. And is your anger so chronic that it has been keeping you and blocking you from your happiness? There is a sense of having compassion for the thoughts that have been stuck inside the web of your mind. And being in Aries rising, I got a lot of "you done me wrong" stories. And I have noticed more and more that my brain defaults to those stories. It does not choose those stories. It just simply blows into those bad stories, and I don't really like them. So when I notice them, I say a quick prayer to Spirit to give me the inspiration, the courage, and the heart to move into the stories that I do want to experience versus the old stories that I can do nothing about. Because I believe that the deer is about gentleness and diplomacy as you dig deep into how your mind works. And as you dig deep into how your mind works, you become more victorious over your mind. And this isn't because you've actually stopped your mind from having those stories. It's because you've had an awareness. And through that awareness, you can call on your heavenly hosts to help you feel more balanced. Because here is Archangel Gabriel talking about your communications, your self-talk. And here's the battle between your head, your heart, and the truth in the middle. And I'm not saying that some of the stories aren't true, but like, for instance, I got a lot of "you done me wrong" stories about people who aren't even on this planet anymore. And I can't do anything to change those stories. They are what they are. The imprint is, the die is cast in this lifetime, and they won't be rectified any further. So The only place I can go is into my own imprinted mind, and the grace and the compassion I give myself for the awareness that my mind is noisy, my mind can be angry, my mind can be resentful, and at the same time, these are imprints that I've had for a long time. So I'm unraveling those imprints through my connections to spirit that are giving me new viewpoints and starting to reconcile those experiences. The forgiveness card for me is never really about forgiveness, because forgiveness feels fake to me. 9 times out of 10, when someone's apologized to me, I've usually felt like they were going like this, and I'll go straight to my family because they apologize like, "I'm sorry. What do you want? I'm sorry." That's not an apology for my Taurus moon. So where I'm going with this is that I can now recognize they are who they are. They're going to show up the way they are. And even though it has hurt me, I can have compassion for the thoughts that are stuck in my web as I continue to unravel through diplomacy, through being gentle with myself as I recognize the storm in my mind. And now that storm is turning into a beautiful sunrise. And soon the rainbows will come out because I will have reconciled the experience and now carved it into a tool where I can use this knife to cut through the things that are tougher, harder. You can't cut through anything with a fork or a spoon. I mean, maybe you can try, but a knife is much more efficient. So here, I believe Aries is starting to transform what has been into what can be. All right, let's go on to our Tauruses. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Such a busy sign with the North Node leaving your first house. Jupiter have entered your first house, rewriting your belief system, expanding your sense of skills and belief in yourself. And then Uranus offering unexpected opportunities. And we have the have or the have not card. This is a card of justice. This is also, believe it or not, a card of the law of attraction, because the person who gets the bounty from somebody is the person who's actually aligned to it. If we look here, the scales of justice are here over this character who's wearing a blue garb. Blue represents the throat chakra. So this person could repeatedly be talking about their poverty. And in doing so, he gets the benefactor to look the other way. Let's see what's going on, because one of the things I think is happening for Taurus is you're rewriting your personal history. You've had an opportunity to anchor in and build more self-confidence in your voice, in what you can create and what you can build for yourself. And this could change the tide of whether you're a have or a have not. Our first angel is Daniel. The second is Bethany. The third is Bridget. And the final is Fiona. Daniel is being joined by the dog. Bethany's being joined by the spider. Bridget's being joined by the love card, and Fiona's being joined by Merlin. So the have and the have not card is not about money. It's about love. It's about relationships. It's about whether or not you are starting to take in the transformation of your own personal history in relationships, because Daniel is the angel of marriage and your history in relationships, and the dog is about love. It's also about sincerity, and it talks about unconditional love. And unconditional love is not really about the other person being perfect all the time. It's about being able to love someone in the midst of disruption, to see the best of them during the worst of times. But the best way to do that, my Tauruses, is by taking care of yourself and your needs in relationship, because Bethany is all about self-care. And here the spider is going to talk about relationships. I see this web. And when I think about the web, I think about the fly that gets into the web that doesn't come out. So as you start to muse on the idea that in the past, your relationships were exactly aligned to who you were at that time. And at that time, you could be sitting in a more of a wobble between you're a have or a have not. And now you're sitting maybe in a more solid place to receive a more even exchange of energy in relationships, because Bridget has been asking you to look deeper into your love life and actually see, was it fulfilling you? Was it filling your needs? Was it giving you what you needed? Because if it wasn't, there's no longer any need to worry about that. This is about allowing yourself to move forward, because Fiona says, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving, and here is justice, balance, and alchemy. So I very much think that your ruling planet Venus is in the sign of Leo right now. Taurus, that would make Leo your fourth house. So I want to offer it this way. If indeed you have, wait, hold on a second. I need to think for a second. Taurus, Cancer, no, Gemini, Cancer, yeah, Leo, fourth house. Because I want to offer it this way. This could have a lot to do with your family history and how you were loved and nurtured and perceived, and the value that you had as a child. And now you have an opportunity to sort of rewrite that story. If you have a good story, then you can capitalize on the great story. But if for some reason the story was not as much fun as you'd like it to be, then this is an opportunity for you to start to evaluate your relationships on a give and take. And, you know, the other thing about Taurus is Taurus likes the journey of getting to know you. Taurus likes a feeling of familiarity. So if for some reason you're embarking upon new relationships in your life, give yourself the privilege of pacing that situation versus feeling the bum's rush of somebody else's excitement. There's a lot to consider with Venus, you know, going through the house of Leo for such a long time. And, you know, this idea that Leo is your fourth house, it could very much represent whether or not you felt a sense of yourself being able to be birthed in and be safe in that fourth house environment. I don't know if I'm being clear enough. I've always been different than the rest of my family. I believed in angels. I believed in fairies. I believed in magic. I believed in things that weren't unnecessarily under God's domain, according to my parents. I also was not willing to give life to the notion that God chose my path, and that God chose that I would be an abused child, that God chose that I would be a neglected child, that I would feel I didn't believe any of that. And my parents tried to shove that down my throat. So I think there's something about you starting to think that you are a receiver of good things, that Jupiter is expanding your belief and your faith in your ability to create a wonderful life for yourself. And in doing so, you have the tenacity and the ability to bring that into the earthly experience in a very, very powerful way. And it may be very unexpected how it happens, because Uranus is going to turn things up and then turn them back around again. So it's very exciting. All right, on to our final sign, Gemini. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Where are we going for you, Gemini? The Empress. Oh, what a lovely card. This is bounty. This is pregnancy. This is all the love, the food, the material comforts that you want. And yet she sits on her throne ready to receive. Again, such a powerful energy when we think about the feminine as a receptive energy versus a female energy, because the law of attraction would be maybe more of a Martian energy, more of an action energy, my thoughts going out into the universe. And then the law of allowing is the Venusian energy, the female energy, the feminine energy of receiving that which I have been thinking about. So let's see where we're going, Gemini. Our first angel is Daniel. Wow, a lot about relationships. Ariel is number 2. Rochelle is in the angel's advice, and Esther is in the final position. Who cannot think about love and romance with Venus and Mars both being in the sign of romance, Leo? The Empress is ruled by Venus. Daniel is being joined by the Trust card. Ariel is being joined by the Owl. Rochelle is being joined by the Joy card, and Esther is being joined by the Forgiveness card. For my Geminis, I want to offer this. If you've had any sort of disruption recently, either in your workplace or your home, your neighborhood, whatever, we know Mars was in your first house for quite some time, 7 months. I want to offer it this way. Now is a time to start to rebuild, and to rebuild with the idea that everything is coming to me. And part of my opportunity right now is to see the stars in my crown, to be illuminated and allow my thoughts to align to what serves me most. Because Daniel is an angel of history, and there's the trust card. And I feel as if this history and the trust of that history is not about that history being good, but that it's provided enough information for you to make new choices moving forward. Because Ariel says new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself and the world. And the owl is absolutely about wisdom. It says it on the face of the card, and it's an ability to discern, to look at something. Years ago, I had one of the most horrific betrayals of my life. And as I've grown past that betrayal, I've extracted so much wisdom from it that I perceive it as a gift. And I could never have perceived it as a gift in my youth. It was actually one of the worst things that ever happened to me. And at the same time, now I feel as if it is something that I couldn't be me had that experience not happened. So here, the angels are asking Gemini to follow your heart. That's where the joy is. It's not inside your mercurial head. So when you're pinging back and forth, this is an opportunity to sit back and give yourself some ease. You might even get a good meal, or fluff up your pillows, or buy yourself some new bedding, or do something to make your environment feel as if things are coming to you that you enjoy, that you feel are supporting you, supporting the things that you want in your life. Because as you stretch past the pinging of your head going back and forth, you're going to start to, in the 3D world, experience your own excitement, because you've reached for the stars and you're not compromising. And now this is a reconciliation of your trust. It's I don't quite know, if you've never really put this into practice, you won't, it's always going to be kind of a weird feeling. But I personally know, because I do it. I tell Spirit, my door is closed. I don't want anyone to call. I need to do a video. I don't want anyone to book an appointment, and it will be quiet. Then I will go to Spirit and I will say, the door is open. The phone calls can come in. I've finished my other chores, and Spirit will start booking clients for me. So I literally feel a sense of ebb and flow with what I cannot see. And I feel as if that's what's being offered to you as you start to trust a partnership with your history. And that means that when you smell something unpleasant and familiar, I slow down. Don't run into it, but slow down so that a piece of information can come through and illuminate a path. That's where this comes in. That's where the discernment comes in, and where Spirit brings new experiences that actually fill my heart with joy and make me sit in an understanding energy that if there was something I wanted, or I thought I wanted and I didn't get it, what was the platform I was creating it on? I need money. So I'm going to get a job, but I'm not going to go look for the job I really want, because that might be hard to get. And I need money now. So I'm going to get a job I think I can get, but I'm not going to like it. It's a weird way of deciphering your history, looking at where your skills and where your talents lie, and whether you're willing to stretch for a bigger picture of what you can receive versus a smaller picture of what you think you can receive. And this could blow the socks off of your indecision and start to make these two sides of yourself work in coordination with each other, versus sometimes feeling like they're working at odds with you. Okay, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed looking at my kitchen. If I would have known I was going to turn off the background because I forgot I was folding up cards, I would have made it a more plain wall, but it is what it is. So thank you for joining me on my YouTube home. Welcome to my way of thinking. And if you like what you see, please hit that like button, hit the notification bell, hit the little thank you thing if you want, send some good tidings my way, whatever you want to do. I just want you to find value of this. That's what my hope is. That's what my intention is. And I want you all to feel loved and supported by me. So I hope that's how it lands. I'll be live next Sunday. That will be July 9th. At 11 a.m. Pacific time. So I hope you'll be able to join me then. And in the meantime, have a good week, everybody. Peace out.